How do you turn a worthless piece of real estate into a $200,000 profit in less than 1 year? Well, in this video, I'm going to give you that story. Welcome back to my channel. My name is EJ. I'm here to teach you everything that I know about real estate. I've been doing this for 25 years. Rentals, fix and flips, new construction, and larger renovation projects. My purpose is to pass on all the learnings and lessons I've been able to collect over the last 20 to 25 years, like I said. In this video, this is a special case. This is one I'm very proud of. This took place pre-COVID here in Finland. And the backstory is this. If you go to page number 1, this is a messy office picture. And then the following 3 pages are about the after pictures. So I was able to take a worthless piece of shit, sorry my French, and turn that into 2 one-bedroom residential units in less than 1 year, making $200,000. And if you look at the pictures, it just gives you an idea as far as what I've been doing. This particular case is all about how one investor who owned the unit was not able to do anything with it. So this is the problem before me. So basically, a fellow investor, an older gentleman, owned an office space in a building downtown. So prime location, what I call a Class A location. But he was not able to do anything with it. But he was a smart guy. He understood there was plenty of opportunity. So that particular space, he was not able to rent it anymore. It was in poor condition, and the market was very soft at that point. There was more supply than demand. What did he do? He saw an opportunity. He talked to the board of directors in that particular building, because most of the buildings here, the apartment buildings in Finland in particular, are co-ops. What that means is that they are basically companies. They have their shareholders, they have their board of directors, and their annual shareholder meeting, which is the primary decision-making body. So this particular investor, he saw an opportunity. He knew that the price per square foot or price per square meter in downtown locations was a lot higher for residential units compared to office space. So what he wanted to do was that he wanted to change the use of that space from office to residential. And he had a couple of benefits on his side. He understood that the HOA fees, meaning the monthly maintenance fees that a shareholder pays to the company, so to say, were same for office and residential, which is not always the case. So he knew that there would be a lot of upside potential there. But the roadblock number 1 he had was that he had to get a majority vote from the annual shareholder meeting. And there was some bad blood. There was some beef between him and the chairman of the board. And also some of the shareholders of that so-called company, that building, there were 50 of them, saw an opportunity for him to make money, and they were jealous. Greed, people not fully being on board and seeing when somebody else is able to cash in, so to say, on that conversion opportunity. So he basically ended up being in a dead end. Jealousy and politics, like I said, previous owner failed because he was not able to get 2/3 of the votes. How do I come into play? I knew this investor because we had done a couple of deals in the past. So he presented the opportunity to me. And I was at first very hesitant to even look at it because obviously I was not the first person that he offered that deal to. He had talked to other investors in town. And I was like, okay, so let's still take a look at it after the 3rd attempt when he called me. And then pretty quickly I actually got really excited about it. Maybe it's just my personality where I usually thrive when you put me outside of my comfort zone. When everybody else says, no, it's not possible, I see an opportunity. And then at least I want to put myself in that spot, seeing, am I really that good? Can I handle the adversity, the challenges? Can I pull it off where everybody else has basically failed in the past? So as far as my entry and strategy, it was a 3-step plan. The first decision for me was to be able to buy it. So I did not use my corporation. Why? Because obviously I listened to him. And I knew that there were some issues with some of the shareholders really looking at corporations as being the greedy bastards who just try to make money and milk the cow, so to say. So I used the opportunity to purchase the space, the office space, using my personal name. And that reason, or that gave me an opportunity then to basically present myself as a private individual who wanted to invest in that building. And of course, I made my plans clear from the get-go that I would want to convert the use or change the use of that space from office back to residential. So that's why I used my personal name and not my corporation. The step number 2 was really to convince the board. So here's the strategy I used. I basically told the board that, look, right now nobody's able to collect rent. So the previous owner was not able to rent the unit out. So it's not really in anybody's interest to leave that as an office space. And the company itself, the co-op, was not able to get the monthly HOA fees. So it was a loss to anybody. So I convinced the board to organize a special shareholders meeting where this plan of change of use would be presented to the shareholders. And of course, I had neutral history, so there was no bad blood between me and the shareholders or the board itself. So that was step number 2. So then step number 3 was the real roadblock. How do I get the shareholder buy-in? There were 50 individual owners, a large number of very diverse people, young corporate-like couples, families with kids, people who had storefront properties at the street level. So they had very different interests compared to the elderly couple who lived on the top floor unit, so to say. So all the past attempts had failed. Like I said, the previous owner was not able to pull this off, and the risk was really real. So if I was not able to, obviously when it was my turn, if I wasn't able to convince the shareholders to vote in my favor, this would be a dead on arrival. I would own a similar space that the previous owner suffered with, and then I don't know what I would have done in that case. Obviously 50 owners, every vote counts. And the way this works with co-ops is that basically, for those of you who don't know it, if you have a co-op system, unlike condos, if you own a condo, basically you own part of that building by owning the condo. But if you have a co-op, you basically buy shares. And every share, although shares give you a right to live in that particular unit or do whatever you want with that. So it's a different thing. It's kind of like a company. You have your shareholders and then you have a board of directors and whatnot. So the board of directors is really the entity that manages the day-to-day for that particular corporation. And then here's what I did exactly. So this was my master plan for the whole thing. So I built an Excel spreadsheet of all the shareholders. I found out where they lived, if they didn't live in the building, got their contact details, so called them up first, scheduled a face-to-face meeting. So it literally knocked on doors after that. So obviously not everybody's information was publicly available. So I had to knock on doors. I had to use a lot of previous contacts and pull strings here and there to make sure that I was able to organize a meeting with every single one of them. So it was all about face-to-face persuasion. So what was my pitch? It was the same thing that I presented to the board. I was saying that, hey, it's in everybody's interest to make sure that we are able to collect the HOA fees and to collect the rent from these particular units. And as a shareholder, then I would have the right to present my ideas. And then I was really neutral about it. I addressed the fact that there had been issues with the previous owner and the board, and there was some bad blood between a couple of individuals as well. So I laid all of those cards on the table in the beginning. And then if you look at the payoff, what was I able to get done then? So the step number 1 was to vote. So it was actually pretty tight in the end, but I was able to secure a majority vote in that annual special shareholders meeting. I secured the approval and I got the green light for the conversion. The next step was really interesting. So I actually sold at that point the shares, meaning in this case the unit, the previous, what was known as the office space, to my company. And that way, then my company was able to actually do what it does at best, meaning convert the stuff, execute it, and then make money in the end. So I profited 40K roughly. I bought the space for 100 and sold it for 145 and minus some costs. So that was a 40K personal gain on my side. And now my company owned this particular unit. And then after that was the bread and butter of my execution plan, so to say. So hire an architect, put together a plan, apply for a building permit and get it, and then handle the renovation and then put it back on the market. And in a nutshell, I converted that one office space into 2 one-bedroom apartments because, again, remember, the residential real estate, the value of that was a lot higher than the office. So this is a good example of finding opportunities in real estate. Remember, if you look at or if you have been watching my previous videos, real estate is pretty much an opportunity game. So you're in the business of finding opportunities and then you convert the opportunities into real deals. So this was a classic example of that. Not your cookie cutter type of a deal, but something that required a little bit of a creative touch, so to say. So I sold those 2 units for 400K total. And if you look at the numbers recap. So 40K personal gain, and then my company made 156, so roughly 200,000 in profit in less than a year. Would you do this deal? Absolutely, right? But the thing is that if you look at the lessons, the main question probably is that, okay, how was I able to pull this off when the previous owner had a dead stop? So if you look at the slide here, which you probably see on this side or on that side, so he was at a dead end. He was looking at a zero gain, probably a loss, had he been forced to sell that unit as an office. So I took the risk. Nobody else was willing to do that. Why? You might ask, okay, what was the reason why I was able to make 200K when he made nothing? Okay, number one, of course, I would say 10 or 20% of the outcome was the fact that I was a neutral third party or a new person stepping in. So there was no bad blood anymore. But I would say that the biggest thing was that I was willing to do whatever it takes. So the previous owner basically was just trying to convince the board, and then went to the annual shareholder meeting. What he missed was that the chairman of the board had really close connections with some of those people who were kind of the influencers in that company or in that building, so to say. And what I did was that I understood that, and I was willing to go the extra mile, meaning do whatever it takes to knock on everybody's door, make phone calls, visit them face to face, and present my ideas. So just to make sure that there were no stones left unturned in my case. So the question is, are you doing your best, or are you doing it whatever it takes? The opportunity was there for everybody to capture. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else, but I know I can hustle, I know I can see an opportunity, and I never ever give up. So sometimes real estate is not about the spreadsheets or who does the flipping or the tile selection best or selecting your best subcontractors or general contractors for the deal. It's sometimes about psychology, people, and the structure of the deal, and seeing the big picture, not just staring at the individual trees. And I would say that there's money to be made in almost every deal in real estate. The question is, do you see it? Can you take advantage of that opportunity? And then, most importantly, are you willing to do whatever it takes? Do you understand the risks? There's always the downside and the upside. But this was a case study of how I took a worthless piece of real estate and turned that into 200,000 in profit in less than a year. And I guess if you take any lessons home from this, I guess the number one is that ask yourself, are you doing your best or whatever it takes? Because there's always an extra level, in my opinion. If we never give up, if you refuse to give up, I think there's plenty of money to be made. This is a classic example of why we are in the business of finding opportunities in real estate. Opportunities are everywhere. It's just a matter of putting those pieces together and making some money in the end. If you like the content, my only ask is for you to hit the subscribe button. This is a new channel that I launched a few weeks ago. I also have my personal channel where I talk about mindset and personal development, but this channel here is strictly about business and real estate. So if you like what you see, like I said, hit that subscribe button, and I promise you this, I'll see you again in the next video.